All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of great millstone at well. And Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. I am the Baba Kalab, and I am from the GMS UK Lord of Forecasters Campo, coming back at you with another lesson to edify those of which I spoke of. So this is just going to be a very quick lesson, but a pertinent one to the times we're in, because we know that the prophecies state that, some of the men of the elect of the nation of Israel are going to be made into martyrs for this truth. And that's something that's always in the back of our mind. When we come into this thing, we knew of the scriptures forewarned us through the prophecies of the things that we would have to face and endure in these last days, and we're coming into those times because we're approaching the end of Esau's kingdom, and we know that Esau is going to fight tooth and nail to prevent his kingdom from going down. And in doing so, that means that he's going to come down with great wrath upon those who are of the elect of the nation of Israel. That's Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Let me just quickly read that. I'm going to read it out of my physical Bible here. Bear with me a second. Revelation 12 and verse 12 says, where are we? Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So Esau's wrath is going to be expressed through his use of the sword, because that was his blessing. In Genesis 27, the blessing that Esau received from his our forefather Isaac, because he's our forefather too, because Esau is Jacob's brother, both of the same father, Isaac, right? Esau's blessing was the sword, meaning that Esau is a carnal man, and his way of dealing with the problem usually is to try and kill it. He done that 2,000 years ago with our Lord, Yahweh Shai. They tried to put Yahweh Shai to death to stop the prophecies from coming true, but did that stop it? No, because Yahweh Shai overcame death. And we too, that are of the elect, and believe in Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, and the Israelites, we too are going to have to face death and ultimately overcome it. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this lesson out is because I was just reading this comic. This is a Captain America comic from around 1940 or 1941. So it's an old comic, and I was just reading it. And this situation happened here where you've got Captain America's young sidekick, whose name's Bucky. He gets captured, and the villain is going to kill him. And I thought this is very interesting because it made me think of what the elect are going to have to go through. So it says, it says, in the boy's case, I will be merciful, he shall die first. His head shall be chopped off instead of sawed off slowly as Chan's shall be, right? So essentially they've got this boy here, Bucky, on the chopping block, right? And they're about to behead him. And they're saying that to the other guy who's watching, we'll chop his head off, but we're going to saw your head off slowly. So essentially they're trying to use intimidation and fear tactics to destroy the mind of the person who is experiencing this torture, right? So you've got Bucky there on the chopping block, but the interesting thing is in the next panel, you see his thoughts, right? And the villain says, you may strike now, Wong. So you've got the executioner there about to bring the sword down and take his head off. And, these old school comics are cool because they're pre, the comic code where they kind of had to, tame down the violence and stuff like that after the comics code was instituted. But as I said, this is from 1941, so this is pre-comics code. So you've got, a young boy in mortal danger here. So it's cool to see the shit because it's a bit more raw. So it says, you may strike now, Wong. So Bucky's thoughts are, so long, Cap. I did my best. Long live liberty. And I thought this panel was really interesting because when I read this, it made me think of what we're going to have to go through. Well, I say some of us are going to have to, because not all of us are going to be made martyrs. But some of us are going to have to go through this thing, right? Facing the guillotines with our head literally in the chopping block, thinking that there's no possible way out of the situation. And the question is, what will be going through our minds at that time? And really, we want to have the same mindset of this character here, where he says, "So long, Cap. I did my best. Long live liberty." Now, these characters, they're fighting for, truth, justice in the American way. But really, you could use this as a metaphor for us in the truth. Because if it so happens to be that one of our heads are put on the chopping block, we should be saying to ourselves, "So long, Yahushua, I did my best. Long live Israel." Just substitute a few words, and that's the mindset that we should have. "So long, Yahushua, I did my best. Long live Israel." So, having that mindset would have us go through to the end and not be bugging out and begging for mercy for Esau. "Oh no, please don't kill me. I'll do anything. I'll take your chip. Please, just spare my life. Please, please." There's got to be guys who are going to buckle at that final hurdle when their head's put on the literal chopping block, whether it be in a guillotine or whether it's in some funky ass prison where you got some flipping executioner literally with a flipping an axe or a sword, who's going to do it the old-fashioned manual way. That makes me think of a painting. There's a famous painting by, bear me a second. Yeah, Salakia. A painting just came back to my mind, a really famous one, which is by an artist named Paul Delaroche, and it's actually, I don't know if it's still in the National Gallery. It used to be there, but I haven't been to the National Gallery in a little while, so I don't know if it's still there. But if I pull it up, what is it? The Execution of Lady Jane Grey. This is the one. So let's make this bigger. Yeah, you could have brothers in this situation. Actually, I want to get a larger image because it's not doing the painting justice. If I pull it up as a small little flipping thing there, that's better. That's not all pixelated. Yeah. Now this is what would be called a history painting. Really, really big painting which captured a scene. This was painted by the artist Paul Delaroche, and as I said, it's hung in the National Gallery in London, which is by Trafalgar Square. It's an awesome painting, right? And you've got this scene here where Lady Jane Grey, obviously this is a scene from a historical event. Lady Jane Grey was to be executed, and here she is being led to the chopping block, which you got there, and you've got the priest guiding her hands because obviously she can't see, which obviously is, she's decked in all white, which is to symbolize her innocence and purity, and she's obviously blindfolded, which also shows that she's unaware of the impending end. I mean, obviously she knows she's going to be executed, but she can't see the exact moment, so that gives a little bit of unknown. It gives an air of unknowing, not knowing what's about to happen. And you've got the priest guiding her hand to find the chopping block which her head will be put on, and you've got the executioner standing there to the side where it's a bit cropped, but he's got the axe in his hand and he's wearing red there. And you've got these other women lamenting at the fact that she's going to be killed. They're crying and, weeping and lamenting. It's a powerful ass painting, but the reason why I'm showing this is because this could be the fate that befalls some brothers. You could be locked in some dungeon somewhere without a massive crowd, without a great fanfare, and you might just be put to death behind the scenes. It's not always going to be like, if you think of that movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson, where it was a very I don't want to ruin the movie, but it was a very public type thing where there's loads of people watching. I'm not going to ruin the film, so go and watch the film if you haven't seen it. But it's not like in the movies, is what I'm trying to say. When you meet your death, there might not be a great fanfare. There might not be, loads of people watching. It might just be 2 or 3 people in a dark room, some secluded room, God knows where, and you might have to face that end under those circumstances. Or Esau could do it another way, where he can make it a public spectacle. Either way could happen. But at the end of the day, one thing remains consistent, and that is that we have to endure to the end, and we can't be afraid of death. Because at the end of the day, death is just a door. It's a door to transitioning to the spiritual realm. So, you know, if you have to pass through that doorway, you have to pass through that doorway. It's like the scriptures say, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? It's not for us to choose how we go out. That's for the Lord to do. So at the end of the day, it comes to a point where we're going to have to surrender and let the will of the Lord be done. And who knows, in that very moment, the Most High might be like, no, I'm going to raise him up. You get spiritual powers in that instant. And, you turn the tables on your oppressors. Who knows, that could happen. Or maybe you do have to go for that doorway and transition into the spiritual realm so that you can be on the chariots with Yahweh Shai when he returns. It doesn't matter how we get there. The point is we have to get there, because the alternative is to lose your faith, buckle under the pressure, and take Esau's mark. So why am I saying all of this? So why have I made a lesson out of these things that I'm saying? The reason why I'm saying this is because it's not a coincidence that I happen to be reading this comic. As I said before, the scriptures say, let me get it on the screen, hang on, let me put this up. Proverbs 20, man's goings of the Lord. Proverbs 20, verse 24. Man's goings are of the Lord Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? Meaning that the fact that I happened to find this comic and read it, it wasn't a coincidence. The Lord the Lord leads us into all sorts of things. The truth is bigger than just the Bible. The Bible is the most important aspect that we have in understanding the Lord. But there are spiritual signs in a great many things that we are exposed to every day. So what I'm trying to say is that, me stumbling across this and reading this and seeing this situation, it was a faith booster. And you got to find little faith boosters along the way, so long as you believe and you got spiritual eyes to see certain things. Because what is this doing? Interacting with things like this aforetime helps put you in the right mindset for when these things do come to pass. That's why it's so important to read the Bible and to study the scriptures and to stay in the scriptures and keep going over these things, because that's going to be our stability when these dark times come. That's going to be our strength and peace of mind when these times come upon us. Whereas the rest of the world, they're not really paying attention to spiritual signs. They don't know the Bible. So when things go to shit and society falls apart, they're going to lose their minds, because their minds weren't prepared to take the magnitude of the weight of the seriousness and severity of the situations that they're going to be exposed to. It's like, by exposing our minds to things like this early on and preparing our minds, it makes your mind more robust and strong in terms of dealing with adversity that may come along later. Whereas if you live a life of mirth and folly, you're always partying and, looking for a good time all the time, when the good times end and you're faced with just pure hell, your mind's not going to be able to take it, and your mind's going to snap and it's going to break and it's going to buckle under all of that severity and adversity. So yeah, I just thought I'd make a lesson on this because I found it edifying, and it's something that made me reflect on that precept. Let's read it again. Where was I reading that from? I've got it in my hand here. This is Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20 and verse Yeah, Revelation 20 and verse 4, forgive me. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and the judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of the Most High, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. That's what we want to be a partaker of. We want to be part of that number. So I'll just read these two panels again. In the boy's case, I will be merciful. He shall die first. His head shall be chopped off, instead of sawed off, as slowly as yours shall be. Yeah? You may strike now, Wong. And Bucky thinks to himself, so long, Cap. I did my best. Long live liberty. If we can go to the chopping block saying that, so long Yahushua, I did my best. Long live long live Israel. We could be content to go out that way because we know we gave it our all and we did our best to serve the Lord the right way, and we didn't sell out, we didn't take the mark. I mean, that's a very noble and honourable way to go out. And the scriptures even says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. So that's not something that the Most High takes very lightly, and there will be a great reward for that in the kingdom. So Lord willing, we can endure to the end and be partakers of that reward. So with that, I want to give all praises and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone at Fulwell, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. Shalom for now.